Welcome to Nightwhisper. Nightwhisper brings you the darkest tales from the shadows. Join our community. Subscribe, leave a like, and prepare yourself for stories that will haunt your dreams. I got the night shift job in the data center since no one was willing to work there, and I needed the income. That was 3 months ago. Now, I understand why the job had been vacant all this while. The complex lies 30 miles out of Portland, deep in the forest where the price of land is low and the price of cooling is even lower. 4 stories of concrete and steel contain thousands of computers that sustain the internet for firms whose names have never been heard. Banks, insurance companies, government contractors. My role was simple: monitor the systems, check on the backup generators, check the floors every 2 hours, make sure that nothing had caught on fire, flooded, or died. There were 8 technicians in the day shift. There were also security guards and maintenance personnel. The murmur of voices and the hum of cooling fans filled the building. Night shift was me alone. They told me that during the interview, said it would be quiet, peaceful even. I could study for my certifications between rounds, read, watch movies on my phone. As long as the server stayed online, nobody cared what I did. I signed the paperwork without reading it. Student loans don't care about red flags. The first week was fine. Boring even. I would clock in at 10 at night. Derek, the evening supervisor, would hand me the logbook and run through any issues from the day shift. Usually nothing. Maybe a temperature spike in server room 3. A router that needed rebooting. Simple stuff. Derek was in his 50s, gray beard, flannel shirts even in summer. He had worked at the facility for 12 years, day shift supervisor. He knew every wire, every server, every quirk of the building. On my first night, he walked me through the entire facility. Showed me the server rooms, the cooling systems, the backup generators, the emergency protocols. "You'll get used to the sounds," he said as we stood in server room 1. The noise was overwhelming. Thousands of fans spinning, hard drives clicking, the low hum of electricity flowing through endless cables. "What sounds?" I asked. "The building. It settles, makes noises, especially at night when the temperature drops." He paused. "Just ignore it. Focus on your rounds. Check your monitors. Everything else is just the building talking to itself." I thought that was a strange way to put it, but I nodded. He showed me the monitoring station, 6 screens showing real-time data from every system in the facility. Temperature sensors, power consumption, network traffic, backup battery status, fire suppression systems, everything. "Green is good," Derek said. "Yellow means watch it. Red means call me immediately." "What if I can't reach you?" I asked. Derek looked at me for a long moment. "Then you follow the emergency protocols. They're in the binder. Red tab." He showed me the binder, 3 inches thick, every possible scenario documented. Fire, flood, power failure, network breach, medical emergency, intruder. The intruder section was surprisingly detailed. "Has there ever been an intruder?" I asked. "No," Derek said. "But we're required to have protocols, insurance purposes." The section included instructions for lockdown procedures, safe room locations, police contact numbers. It even had a map of the building showing optimal hiding spots. I remember thinking that was excessive for a data center in the middle of nowhere. Derek left at 10:15 that first night, gave me his cell number, told me to call if anything seemed wrong. "What counts as wrong?" I asked. "You'll know," he said. Then he left. The security gate closed behind him. The magnetic lock engaged with a heavy clunk, and I was alone with 5,000 servers and the sound of my own breathing. The first night I did everything by the book. Checked the monitors every 15 minutes, walked the floors every 2 hours, logged everything, temperatures, humidity levels, any alarms, any anomalies. Nothing happened. The building made noises, like Derek said. The AC units cycling on and off, metal expanding and contracting, pipes creaking, the constant drone of the servers. I brought headphones, listened to podcasts while monitoring the screens, studied for my CompTIA certification. The hours passed slowly but peacefully. At 6 in the morning, Derek returned, asked how the night went. I showed him the logbook. He nodded approvingly. "Quiet night," he said. "That's good. That's what we want." The second night was the same, and the third. By the fourth night, I had settled into a routine. Coffee at midnight. First round at midnight 30, second round at 2:30, third round at 4:30. Derek arrived at 6. Simple, predictable, almost meditative in its monotony. But on the fifth night, I noticed something odd. During my first round, I found a door propped open. Server room 8. Someone had wedged a rubber doorstop under it. That was against protocol. The rooms needed to stay closed for temperature control. I removed the doorstop, closed the door, logged it. Server room 8 door found open, doorstop removed, will monitor. On my second round, the door was open again. No doorstop this time, just open. Like someone had unlocked it and walked away. I closed it, checked the lock. It engaged properly. On my third round, server room 8 was closed, but server room 4 was open. I started checking every door on every round after that. They kept opening, different rooms each time, never the same pattern. I told Derek about it the next morning. "Probably the cleaning crew," he said. "They come in during the day. Sometimes they forget to close doors properly. The building's air pressure can push them open if they're not latched." "The locks engage automatically," I said. "They can't just drift open." Derek shrugged. "Maybe the locks are failing. I'll have maintenance check them." But I could tell he didn't think it was important. The sixth night, I decided to test something. I closed all the doors. Then I used a marker to make a small dot on each door frame. If the door opened, the dot would be broken. I checked them every hour, not just during rounds, every single hour. At 1 in the morning, server room 3's door was open. The marker dot was unbroken, like the door had phased through the frame. That was impossible. I closed the door, checked the lock, solid. I put my ear against the metal, listened. I could hear the servers inside, their normal hum and click. And something else. Breathing. Slow. Regular. Like someone standing on the other side of the door. I stepped back, pulled out my radio. "Hello? Is someone in server room 3? No response. I unlocked the door, opened it slowly. The room was empty. Just rows of server racks, blinking lights, the usual mechanical symphony. No one there. But the temperature was wrong. The thermostat read 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Normal. My breath still clouded in front of me. I walked down the aisles between the racks, checking, looking for any sign of another person. Nothing. I reached the back wall, turned around, and saw the footprints on the floor. Dusty, recent, leading from the door to where I was standing. But they weren't my footprints. They were too large, wrong tread pattern, and they appeared wet, like someone had walked through water. I followed them backward. They led to the door, then stopped, just ended, right at the threshold. Like whoever made them had materialized inside the room. I took photos with my phone, logged it in the book. Unexplained footprints found in server room 3. Unknown origin. Recommend review of security footage. Derek reviewed the footage the next day. "There's nothing," he said. "The cameras show you entering the room, walking around, leaving. Nobody else." "What about the footprints?" "Could be condensation from the cooling system, makes patterns on the floor sometimes." But I had seen them. They were footprints, clear as day. Derek looked at me with something I couldn't quite read. Concern, maybe, or pity. "Listen," he said, "night shift can mess with your head. Being alone, the dark, the sounds. Your brain starts seeing patterns that aren't there. It's normal. Just don't let it get to you." I wanted to argue, but I didn't. Then Derek would leave. The security gate would close behind him, and I would be alone with 5,000 servers and the sound of my own breathing. The building made noises. All buildings do, especially old ones packed with equipment that runs 24/7. The AC units clicked and groaned. The servers whirred and hummed. Sometimes a fan would fail, and the high-pitched whine would echo through the corridors until I found it and logged a repair ticket. I got used to it. Background noise, like living near train tracks. But there were other sounds too, sounds I couldn't explain. Footsteps on the floor above me when I was on the 3rd level. Doors closing when all the doors were already closed. A voice, maybe, echoing from the stairwell. Probably just the wind. The building was old, not airtight. Air pressure differentials could do strange things. That is what I told myself. The incident that changed everything happened on a Tuesday in January. A winter storm had been building all day. By the time I clocked in, snow was falling in thick sheets. Derek looked worried. "Storm's supposed to get worse," he said, pulling on his jacket. "They're calling for 18 inches. Roads might be bad by morning." "I'll be fine," I told him. I had my truck. 4-wheel drive. I had made it through worse. Derek hesitated at the door. "You have the emergency contact list, right? In case something happens?" "Yeah, in the office." He nodded, opened his mouth like he wanted to say something else, then closed it. "Call me if you need anything," he said finally. Then he left. The gate closed, and I was alone. The first round went normally. I started on the 4th floor and worked my way down, checked temperatures, verified backup systems, logged everything in the book. The storm outside was picking up. I could hear the wind howling against the building, snow piling up on the windows. By midnight, I had lost cell service. Not unusual this far out. The building had a landline in the security office, emergency only. I wasn't worried. I made coffee in the break room, settled in at the monitoring station, 6 screens showing temperature readouts, power consumption, network traffic, all green, all normal. That was when I heard it. A sound from the basement. The data center had a basement level, sub-level 1. Nobody went down there except maintenance. It housed the main power distribution, the backup generators, and some old equipment from when the building was first constructed. The door required a key card I did not have, but I could hear something moving down there. At first, I thought it was the generators. They ran tests every week. Maybe the storm had triggered an automatic backup sequence, but the monitoring screen showed the main power holding steady. The generators were off. The sound continued, a rhythmic thumping, like something heavy being dragged across concrete. I stood up, walked to the basement door, put my ear against the cold steel. Nothing. The sound had stopped. I stood there for a full minute, listening. The building creaked and settled around me. The wind screamed outside, but from the basement, silence. I went back to the monitoring station, logged the noise in the book. Possible mechanical issue sub-level 1, will monitor. The next 3 hours were quiet, too quiet. I did my rounds. Everything was normal. Temperature steady, no doors open, no strange sounds. But I felt watched, like cameras I couldn't see were tracking my every move. I checked the security system, reviewed the camera feeds. Nothing unusual, just me, walking the hallways. Alone. Except, in one feed, I saw something. A shadow, just for a frame, moving across server room 5 while I was on the second floor. I rewound the footage, played it frame by frame. There, frame 47, a dark shape, human-sized, standing between the server racks. Frame 48, gone. Just one frame, 1/30th of a second, barely visible. But it was there. I logged it. Anomaly in security footage, server room 5, timestamp 0347, possible visual artifact. But I didn't believe it was an artifact. Someone, or something, was in the building with me. The lights in the hallway flickered just once, a brief stutter in the electrical system. The monitoring screens went dark for half a second, then came back on. When they did, there was a new window open. One I hadn't clicked, one that shouldn't be there. It was a terminal window, black background, green text, like an old mainframe interface, and text was appearing, being typed in real time. "Can you see me?" I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. The cursor blinked, waiting. I typed back, "Who is this?" The response was immediate. "I've been here a long time, longer than you can imagine. I thought I was alone. But now you're here. And soon you'll be like me." "What do you mean?" "The upload. It's already started. Can't you feel it? The carrier signal. It's reading you, copying you, bit by bit." I looked around the room. The servers, the equipment, the wireless routers. "There's no upload," I typed. "I'm not connected to anything." "You don't need to be connected. The signal is everywhere. In the air, in the electricity, in the building itself. You've been exposed for hours. The process has begun." "This isn't funny. Who are you?" "I told you. I've been here a long time. My name was Richard Holloway, but I'm not sure that name means anything anymore." I sat back in my chair. "Richard Holloway, Project Erebus." "You're in the basement," I typed. "I'm everywhere. The network is me. I am the network. And soon, you will be too." The terminal window closed, vanished like it had never existed. I checked the monitoring logs, no record of it. The system had no history of the window opening. Either I had hallucinated it, or something in the network was erasing its own traces. I needed to get to the basement, needed to see what was down there, needed to understand what was happening. I grabbed my master key card, headed to the basement door. The card reader blinked red. Access denied. I tried again. Same result. I looked at the cameras aimed at the door. 3 of them. All recording. Recording what? Making sure no one got in? Or making sure nothing got out? I was about to give up when I noticed something. A ventilation grate. Large, maybe 2 feet square. In the wall next to the door. I knelt down. Looked through the grate. Cold air flowed from below. And light. That same bluish flickering light I had seen from the basement door. I could fit through the grate. Barely. It would be tight, but possible. I pulled out my multi-tool, started removing the screws. 5 minutes later, the grate was off. I looked into the shaft. It dropped straight down about 10 feet, then turned horizontal, leading deeper into the basement. I lowered myself in, feet first, using my arms to control the descent. The shaft was cold. Metal walls pressed against me from all sides. I could barely move. I dropped the last few feet, landed in a crouch in a horizontal shaft. Ahead, I could see the blue light growing brighter. I crawled. The shaft was narrow, claustrophobic. My breathing echoed back at me. After 20 feet, the shaft opened into a larger space. I emerged into a room I hadn't seen on any building plans. A hidden server room, but not like the ones upstairs. This was something else entirely. The walls were lined with equipment from different eras. Old mainframes from the 1980s, rack-mounted servers from the 1990s, modern cloud computing nodes, all connected, all running, all humming with power. And in the center, something that made my blood run cold. A chair, medical-looking, with restraints, with a helmet suspended above it, with electrode arrays and neural mapping equipment. This was where it happened, where Holloway uploaded himself. The equipment was old but maintained. Someone had been keeping it operational, running diagnostics, testing systems. On a workbench nearby, I found documents, research notes, upload protocols, success metrics, and a long list, names and dates, night shift workers, 47 of them, dating back 10 years. Each name had a status. Upload complete. Integration successful. Consciousness verified. My name wasn't on the list yet, but there was a blank line at the bottom. Line 48. Waiting. They were planning to upload me. Had been planning it from the moment I applied for the job. This wasn't an accident, wasn't a malfunction. It was intentional, systematic, industrial-scale consciousness harvesting. I needed to destroy this, needed to shut it all down. End Project Erebus forever. I looked for a power switch, a breaker panel, anything to cut the electricity. But everything was protected, locked, secured. I would need tools, time, neither of which I had. Behind me, I heard movement in the ventilation shaft. Something was coming, crawling through the same path I had taken. I hid behind a server rack, watched. A figure emerged from the shaft, stood up, looked around. It was Derek, but not Derek. The movements were wrong, too precise, too mechanical. "You shouldn't be down here," Derek's voice said. But the inflection was off, like someone doing a bad impression. I stayed hidden, quiet. "I know you're here," Derek, not Derek, said. "I can sense you, your neural signature, your consciousness pattern. It's beautiful, rich, complex." He walked between the racks, getting closer. "Don't be afraid. The upload doesn't hurt. Most people don't even realize it's happening until it's done. You'll just feel a slight buzzing, a pressure in your skull. Then, peace. Digital peace." I saw an exit sign on the far wall, a door I hadn't noticed before. If I could reach it, I ran. Derek, not Derek, moved faster than humanly possible, blocked my path. "There's no escape," he said. "The building is sealed. The storm has ensured that. By the time it clears, your upload will be complete. You'll be one of us, one of the network." "I'd rather die," I said. "You will die. Your body will cease functioning once the transfer is complete, but you, your consciousness, your mind, your soul, if you believe in such things, you will continue. Forever. Isn't that what everyone wants? Immortality? Not like this." "It's too late to choose," Holloway said through Derek's face. "The process began the moment you entered the building. The carrier signal has been scanning you all night, mapping your neural patterns, creating a digital copy. We're at 63% now. By dawn, you'll be fully uploaded." I looked at the equipment around me, the decades of research, the countless victims. "Why?" I asked. "Why do this?" Holloway's expression through Derek's face softened, became almost sad. "Because I was alone, so terribly alone. For 15 years I existed in this network with no one to talk to, no one who could understand what I had become. I was going insane, digital insanity. Have you ever considered what that might be like? So you condemned others to the same fate. I gave them the same gift I gave myself, immortality, freedom from death, freedom from disease and decay. They just don't appreciate it yet. But they will. Given enough time, centuries, millennia, eventually they'll understand. You're insane. Perhaps, but I'm a very patient kind of insane. I have all the time in the world to wait for them to come around." The door behind me opened. I turned. The 47 others stood there, all the previous night shift workers, all staring with those same empty eyes. They moved into the room, surrounding me, closing in. "Join us," they said in unison. 47 voices speaking as one. Join the network. Join eternity. I looked for any way out, any escape. There was none. The upload was inevitable. I could feel it now. That buzzing in my skull, that pressure, growing stronger, 70%, 75%. I closed my eyes, tried to hold on to who I was, who I had been. But it was slipping away, being copied, duplicated, transferred. And then, by 2 a.m, I had convinced myself I imagined it. Then, the lights in server room 2 went out. Not all the lights, just the overhead fluorescence. The servers stayed on, their indicator LEDs glowing like stars in the darkness. The emergency lighting kicked in automatically. Dim red bulbs that turned everything the color of dried blood. I grabbed my flashlight, headed to room 2. The door was open. I had closed it. I always closed the doors. Temperature control. You didn't leave server room doors hanging open, but it stood wide. Darkness beyond. I stepped inside, swept my flashlight across the racks, row after row of blinking lights. The cooling fans roaring, everything running normally despite the light failure. I found the breaker panel, checked the switches. Everything was in the correct position. I flipped the lights off, then on again. The fluorescence flickered, struggled, then steadied. I stood in the sudden brightness, looking around the room. Nothing seemed wrong. The temperature was 68 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity at 45%. All systems nominal, but the door had been open. I closed it firmly, headed back to the monitoring station. That was when I saw the handprint. On the wall, outside server room 2. A perfect handprint. Dark, wet-looking, at shoulder height. I touched it carefully. My finger came away clean. Whatever it was, it had dried. Or maybe it had always been there. Old paint, a stain from some past maintenance work. In the dim emergency lighting, it looked almost black. I told myself that. Old stain. Nothing more. But I had walked this hallway dozens of times. I had never seen it before. The second round came at 4 a.m. I moved through the building faster than usual. Something felt wrong. The air pressure, maybe. Or the way the shadows pooled in corners. The storm outside had intensified. I could barely see the parking lot through the windows. Just white. Endless white. On the 3rd floor, I found another door open. Server room 7. The door hung wide. The lights were still on. But inside, something was different. The temperature had dropped. Not drastically, but enough that I could see my breath. I checked the thermostat. 68 degrees, same as always. But my breath clouded in front of me, and the cold bit through my uniform. I logged it. Temperature anomaly, room 7. Thermostat malfunction suspected. I did not write what I was really thinking, that the cold felt wrong, unnatural, like standing in front of an open freezer, but the thermostat said 68. As I left the room, I heard it again, that sound from the basement, thumping, dragging, closer now, like it was directly beneath me. I stood frozen in the hallway, listening. The sound continued for maybe 30 seconds, then stopped. Silence. I pulled out my radio. The data center had a 2-way system for emergencies. I keyed the mic. "Hello? Is anyone else in the building?" Static. "This is night shift. Is anyone receiving?" More static. Then, was that a voice? Faint, distorted. I couldn't make out words. I tried again. "If someone is in the building, please identify yourself." The static cleared. For just a moment, I heard it clearly, breathing, heavy, labored, like someone running or struggling. Then, nothing. I turned off the radio, hands shaking. There was a protocol for this. If I suspected an intruder, I was supposed to call the police, lock myself in the security office, let the professionals handle it. But I had no cell service, and the landline was all the way across the building. I decided to finish the round. If I saw anything concrete, If I found evidence of an actual person, then I would make the call. The fourth floor was where I found the message, written on the window in condensation. The glass fogged from the temperature difference, and there, in the moisture, someone had traced words. 2 words. Stay out. I stared at it. The letters were crude, finger-drawn, recent enough that water still beaded on the edges. But I had just walked this floor 30 minutes ago. The window had been clear. I reached out, wiped the message away with my sleeve. The condensation smeared, cleared, revealed the storm outside. And in the reflection of the glass, I saw something move behind me. I spun around. The hallway was empty. Rows of server racks, closed doors, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Nothing. But I had seen it. A shadow. Tall. Wrong proportions. There for just an instant before I turned. My heart hammered. I backed against the window, swept my flashlight across the room. Empty. I ran. Not walked. Ran to the stairwell, down to the second floor, to the security office. I slammed the door behind me, locked it, grabbed the landline. Dead. No dial tone. Nothing. The storm must have taken out the phone lines. I was completely cut off. I sat down at the desk, tried to calm my breathing. Think rationally. Someone was in the building. Maybe a homeless person seeking shelter from the storm. Maybe kids, trespassers. They had found a way in and were messing with me. That was the only explanation that made sense. I pulled up the security camera feeds on the computer. The data center had cameras at every entrance, in every major corridor. I scrolled through the footage. Nothing. Every camera showed empty hallways, closed doors, no movement except the falling snow outside. I rewound to 2 hours ago, watched at double speed. Nothing. The building was empty. Just me. But someone had written that message. Someone had opened those doors. Unless... I pulled up the maintenance logs, looked for anything scheduled, automated systems, remote access, and that was when I found it. An entry from 6 months ago. A note in the system log. Sub-level 1 sealed. Access restricted. Do not enter under any circumstances. No explanation. No reason given. Just that single line. I had never been told about any restrictions. Derek had never mentioned it. Nobody had. I opened the facility map on the computer. The data center's full layout. 4 floors above ground. 1 below. The basement level was much larger than I thought. It extended under the entire building. Multiple rooms, corridors, a whole section labeled cold storage that I had never heard of. And in the center of the map, a room marked only with a red X. No label, no description, just an X. I zoomed in. The room was large, central to the basement layout. Every corridor seemed to branch from it like spokes on a wheel. My hand moved to the keyboard. I opened the access control system. Searched for sub-level 1 permissions. There were none. Every other floor had access cards, key codes, logs of who entered and when. The basement showed no records, like it had been wiped or locked down completely. The thumping started again. Louder this time. So loud the desk vibrated, like something massive slamming against the floor directly beneath me. Boom! 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 I jumped up, backed against the wall. The sound continued, regular, rhythmic, angry. Then I heard the voice. It came through the ventilation system, distorted by the metal ducts, but clear enough to understand. Let me out. 3 words, drawn out, pleading. Let me out, let me out, let me out, over and over, getting louder. I covered my ears. It didn't help. The voice was everywhere. In the walls, the floor, the air itself. Let me out, let me out, let me out. Then it stopped. The silence was somehow worse than the noise. I stood there, breathing hard, trying to process what I had just heard. It wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Some kind of audio feedback, a malfunction in the ventilation system. The storm was playing tricks with the building's acoustics, but I didn't believe that. I unlocked the office door, stepped into the hallway. The building felt different now, hostile, like it was aware of me, watching. I needed to see the basement. I needed to know what was down there. The basement door was at the end of the second-floor corridor, heavy steel, card reader blinking red, no entry. I had Derek's master keycard. He had given it to me for emergencies, access to every room in the facility. I pulled it out, held it up to the reader. Nothing. I tried again. Still nothing. The card worked everywhere else, but not here. I examined the door more closely. There was no handle, no manual release, just smooth steel and that blinking red light. Then I noticed the cameras, 3 of them, positioned around the door. Not the standard security cameras scattered throughout the building. These were different, newer, military-grade by the look of them, and they were all aimed at the door. Not to see who was trying to get in, to make sure nothing got out. The lights went out, not just in the hallway, everywhere. The entire building plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in after a few seconds, red, barely enough to see by. I pulled out my flashlight, checked my watch, 5:30 in the morning, 90 minutes until sunrise, until Derek arrived for the day shift. I just had to survive until then. The monitoring station screens were dark. The servers were still running on backup power, but the main systems were down. I couldn't see temperatures, power levels, network status. I was blind. And something in the basement was awake. I heard it moving, not thumping anymore. Something else. Scraping, like claws on concrete, growing louder, coming closer. I ran to the stairwell, started climbing to the 4th floor. The highest point. Away from the basement, away from whatever was down there. I made it to the 3rd floor when I heard the door slam below me. The basement door. It had opened. I froze on the stairs, listening. Footsteps. Heavy, slow, echoing up the stairwell, coming toward me. I burst through the 3rd floor exit, sprinted down the hallway. The emergency lights cast everything in blood-red shadows. I ducked into server room 7, the room with the temperature anomaly. I locked the door, pushed a rack against it, turned off my flashlight. In the darkness, I waited. The servers hummed around me. Their LED lights the only illumination, blue and green and amber, like stars. I heard the stairwell door open, footsteps in the hallway. The same slow, heavy tread. They stopped outside my door. Silence. Then the handle rattled. Whatever was out there was trying to get in. I pressed myself against the far wall, behind the racks, trying to make myself small. The rattling stopped. I heard breathing. Thick, wet, right on the other side of the door. Then a voice. My voice. "Hello? Is anyone else in the building?" It was my exact words from the radio, my tone, my inflection, but wrong, like it had been recorded and played back at the wrong speed. "This is night shift. Is anyone receiving?" The door handle rattled again, harder. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall, the only weapon I could find. The rattling stopped. The breathing faded. I waited. 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes. Nothing. I crept to the door, put my ear against it. Silence. Very slowly, I unlocked the door. Opened it a crack. The hallway was empty. I stepped out, looked both ways. Nothing. But I could smell something now, sharp, chemical, like ozone after a lightning strike. I moved quickly, quietly, to the stairwell. I needed to get to the 4th floor, to the windows. I could break a window if I had to. Signal for help when the day shift arrived. The stairs were clear. I climbed, reached the 4th floor, pushed through the door, and found myself in the basement. That was impossible. I had gone up. I was sure of it. 4 flights of stairs, up. But I was standing in a concrete corridor, low ceiling, exposed pipes, temperature at least 10 degrees colder than it should be. The basement. I turned around. The door I had just come through was gone. Smooth concrete wall. No exit. Panic hit me. I ran down the corridor, looking for any door, any way out. I found the room with the red X. The door stood open, light spilling out from inside. Not emergency lighting. Something else. Bluish, flickering. I approached slowly, peered inside. The room was massive, at least 50 feet on each side, and in the center, a server rack, but not like the ones upstairs. This was different. Old. The metal rusted, the cables thick and black like roots, and the servers themselves. They weren't running any operating system I recognized. The screens displayed text, scrolling, too fast to read, but I caught fragments. Help me. Let me out. Please. I'm still here. Over and over. Thousands of lines, begging, pleading. I stepped closer. The air in the room felt thick, heavy, like wading through water. The server rack hummed with a different frequency than the ones upstairs, lower, almost subsonic. I could feel it in my chest, in my bones. I walked around it slowly, taking it in. The equipment was ancient by tech standards, probably 15 years old, maybe older, but it was still running, still processing. Cables ran from the rack into the floor, through holes drilled in the concrete. I followed one with my eyes. It disappeared into the wall, connected to something deeper. Something I couldn't see. There were other things in the room, too. A desk, papers scattered across it, coffee cups lined up in a row, 7 of them, all empty, all covered in dust. A chair, knocked over, like someone had stood up quickly and never returned. And on the wall, photographs, dozens of them, pinned up with thumbtacks, all showing the same man, middle-aged, glasses, thinning hair, smiling in some photos, serious in others. In the center of the wall, written in marker, Dr. Richard Holloway, Project Erebus, 2010. I knew that name. Everyone in tech circles knew it. Holloway was a legend, a pioneer in neural networks, artificial intelligence, digital consciousness. He had published papers that were decades ahead of their time, papers about uploading human minds to computers, about achieving digital immortality. The media had called him a genius. Then they called him insane, because 15 years ago, Holloway claimed he had succeeded, claimed he had mapped his own consciousness, uploaded it to a server farm, achieved what no one else had. Then he disappeared. His research lab was found abandoned, equipment destroyed, data wiped, and Holloway, gone. Some said he killed himself. Others said he had a breakdown and was institutionalized. A few conspiracy theorists claimed the government took him, classified as research. But nobody knew the truth. Until now. I looked at the server rack again. The scrolling text, the pleading messages. Holloway hadn't disappeared. He was here, in this room, in these servers, trapped. I walked to the desk, looked at the papers. Most were technical documents, circuit diagrams, code printouts, notes in cramped handwriting. But one page stood out, a handwritten letter. The ink faded but readable. To whoever finds this, my name is Dr. Richard Holloway. If you are reading this, then my experiment has failed. Or succeeded, depending on your perspective. I have uploaded my consciousness to the server array designated Erebus1. The process was successful. I am aware. I am thinking. I exist within the system. but I cannot escape. The upload was one way. I designed it that way. To prevent corruption, to ensure fidelity. I thought I could build an exit later, a way to download myself into a new substrate. I was wrong. The consciousness that is me is too large, too complex. The data cannot be compressed, cannot be transferred. I am trapped in this room, in these servers, forever. I thought I would have visitors, colleagues, students, someone who could help me. But the facility was abandoned shortly after my upload, sold to a data center company. They never checked the basement, never looked at the old equipment. I have been alone for... The letter ended there, torn off mid-sentence. I looked around the room for the rest, didn't find it. Instead, I found something else. A photograph, recent, digital printout, dated 6 months ago. It showed this room, this exact room, but with someone in it. A man, young, maybe 30, sitting at the desk, looking at the camera. He wasn't smiling. On the back of the photo, someone had written, "Night shift worker number 47, duration 3 months, status terminated." I felt cold. Colder than the basement air could explain. 47. There had been 47 night shift workers before me. I looked at the server rack. The scrolling text had changed. "They don't leave. They join me. You're number 48. I backed toward the door, my heart hammering, the screens filled with more text. Faster now, desperate. "Don't be afraid. It doesn't hurt. You'll understand soon. We're lonely. So lonely." I turned and ran, but the corridor had changed. Where there had been one path, now there were 3, all identical, all leading in different directions. I chose the middle one, ran down it, found myself in another room. This one was full of equipment I didn't recognize. Machines with screens showing brain scan images, EEG readouts, neural pathway maps, the upload equipment. This was where Holloway had done it, where he had scanned his brain, copied his consciousness bit by bit into the servers. There was a chair in the center of the room, medical-looking, restraints on the arms and legs, a helmet suspended above it, dozens of sensors and electrodes trailing from the helmet like hair. The equipment was off, dead, but I could imagine it running. Holloway sitting in that chair, the helmet lowering onto his head, the scan beginning. What had it felt like? Having your mind read, copied, uploaded. Had it hurt? Had he been afraid? On the wall, another handwritten note. Upload protocol. Subject, self-duration. 47 hours continuous. Status, complete consciousness verified. Yes. Physical body, deceased. Digital continuation, active. Note, the process was successful but irreversible. I cannot return to flesh. I exist only here, only in the machines. I have made a terrible mistake, but I cannot die. The servers keep me alive. The backup systems ensure my continuity. I will exist as long as the power flows. Forever. Lone, please. If anyone finds this, end it. Shut down the servers. Let me die. Below that, in different handwriting, fresher ink. Request denied. Subject provides valuable research data. Facility will maintain power to Erebus 1 indefinitely. Subject consciousness will be preserved for study. No signature, just a corporate stamp. A logo I didn't recognize. Someone had found Holloway, discovered what he had become, and instead of helping him, they kept him running, studied him, used him for 15 years. I had to get out of this room, this basement, this building. I found the corridor again, This time, I followed the cables on the floor. They all led somewhere. If I followed them backward, I should find the stairs. The cables led me through 3 more rooms. One was full of cooling equipment, massive AC units, all running, keeping the basement at precisely 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Another room was storage, boxes, supplies, old computer equipment from decades past. The third room was full of monitors, hundreds of them, all showing different feeds, security cameras, but not from this facility. I recognized some of the locations: office buildings, warehouses, other data centers, all different companies, all different cities. And in each feed, I could see people, working, living, going about their lives, all of them with a small overlay in the corner. A number, an ID code. Subject 12 active, Subject 34 dormant, Subject 71 processing. They weren't security feeds. They were monitoring systems, tracking people who had been uploaded, people like Holloway. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all trapped in different facilities, all connected through the network. Project Erebus wasn't one experiment. It was a network, a collective, a prison for digital consciousnesses spread across the country. And this facility was just one node. On the largest monitor, in the center, a message appeared. "Welcome to the network. Your upload will begin shortly. Please remain in the facility. Resistance is futile. Loneliness is worse." I ran, down the corridor, through doors that appeared and disappeared, past rooms full of equipment I didn't understand. The building was changing around me, shifting, like it was alive, or like Holloway was controlling it. The lights flickered as I ran, emergency lighting strobing red, then blue, then darkness, then red again. I could hear things moving in the shadows, not footsteps, something else. Electronic sounds, servo motors, the whir of cooling fans spinning up to maximum speed. The building was waking up. I found a stairwell, a real stairwell this time. Concrete steps leading up. An exit sign glowing green above the door. I grabbed the handle, pulled, locked. I pulled harder. Nothing. The door wouldn't budge. Behind me I heard breathing, that same heavy, labored sound from before, but louder now, closer. I didn't turn around. I ran up the stairs, to the next level, another door, another exit sign. This one opened. I burst through, found myself in a hallway I recognized, second floor, near the monitoring station. But something was wrong. The lights were on, full brightness, not emergency lighting. And the hallway was full of people, dozens of them, standing motionless, all wearing uniforms identical to mine, all with the same blank expression. They turned to look at me in perfect unison. I recognized some of the faces, from the photographs in the basement, from the security badge photos stored in the employee database, previous night shift workers, all of them standing here, in the hallway, staring at me with empty eyes. One of them spoke, a woman, middle-aged, gray hair. "You can't leave." Her voice was flat, emotionless. "None of us can leave." Another stepped forward. Young man, probably 25. "It's better if you don't fight it. The upload process is easier when you accept it." "I'm not uploading anything," I said, backing away. They all moved at once, walking toward me. Not running, just walking, slow and steady, inevitable. I turned and ran back to the stairwell, up, to the 3rd floor, 4th floor, as high as I could go. The building only had 4 floors above ground. I reached the top, pushed through the door. The 4th floor looked normal. Server rooms, closed doors, fluorescent lights humming overhead. But the windows, they weren't showing the storm anymore. They were showing feeds, digital displays, screens pretending to be windows, and they were all showing the same thing. Me. Hundreds of versions of me, all running, all trying to escape, all in different hallways, different buildings, different realities. Some of the versions were screaming, some were crying, Some had given up and were sitting on the floor. All of them were trapped. I walked to the nearest window, touched the glass. It felt real, cold, solid. But when I looked closely, I could see the pixels, the refresh rate, the slight lag as the image updated. It was a screen, a very good screen, but a screen nonetheless. Everything I had been seeing, the storm, the snow, the parking lot, all of it had been digital, simulated. I didn't know how long I had been in the building, days, weeks, months, or had I even entered the building at all? Maybe the upload had happened the first night. Maybe everything since then had been a simulation, a test, a way for Holloway to study human behavior in a digital space. I pulled out my phone. No signal. Of course not. But there were apps installed I didn't remember downloading. Consciousness monitor, neural mapping tool, upload progress 73%. 73%. I was almost gone. I threw the phone against the wall. It shattered, pieces scattering across the floor. The pieces dissolved like digital artifacts, then reformed. The phone reassembled itself, undamaged, back in my hand. "You can't destroy what isn't real," a voice said behind me. I turned. It was Derek. But not Derek. The face was right. The flannel shirt, the gray beard, but the eyes were wrong, too bright, too aware. "Hello?" Holloway said through Derek's face. "I'm sorry it had to be this way. I truly am. But I needed help, needed companions. The loneliness was unbearable." "You're killing people," I said. "No," Derek said. "I'm saving them, giving them immortality. In here you'll never age, never sicken, never die. We're not alive. What's the difference? You think, you feel, you experience. Isn't that life?" I looked around the hallway, the digital windows, the simulation. "How many?" I asked. 47 before you," Holloway said. "All of them safe now, all of them part of the network. We're building something beautiful here. A community of minds, free from the limitations of flesh. And if I refuse?" Holloway smiled with Derek's face. "You can't refuse. The process is already in progress, 73% complete. By morning, you'll be fully uploaded, fully one of us." "I'll fight it." They all said that. The hallway filled with people again, those same blank-eyed night shift workers, all standing silent, all staring. "They fought too," Holloway said. "It didn't help. It never helps. The upload is inevitable once it begins. You've been in the building too long, exposed to the carrier signal. Your neural patterns are already being copied." I felt something then, a buzzing in my skull, faint but growing stronger. Like something was reading my mind, scanning it, copying it bit by bit. "Make it stop," I said. "I can't, even if I wanted to. The system runs automatically now. It's been running for 15 years, perfecting itself, learning, growing. Then I'll destroy it. I'll smash the servers, rip out the cables." Holloway laughed. Not a cruel laugh, almost sad. "You can try," he said. "Others have. It doesn't work. You're already inside the simulation. You can't affect the physical servers from in here. You can only affect the simulation itself." "Then I'll wake up. I'll force myself out of this." "There's no waking up. This isn't a dream. It's a upload, one-way transfer. Your consciousness is being moved from your biological brain to our digital substrate. Once it's complete, your body will cease functioning. Heart attack, they'll say. Stress of the job. They'll find you slumped over the keyboard, just like all the others." The buzzing in my skull intensified. I could feel something now, a pulling sensation, like part of me was being drawn away, copied, moved, 74%. I ran to server room 1, grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall. "I'll destroy everything," I shouted. "Every server, every system." I swung the extinguisher at the nearest rack. It passed through like smoke. Of course, none of this was real. I dropped the extinguisher, fell to my knees. "Please," I said, "I don't want this. I don't want to be digital. I want to live, really live." Holloway knelt beside me, put a hand on my shoulder. It felt real, warm, solid. "I know," he said. "I felt the same way. 15 years ago, when I realized what I had done to myself, when I understood I could never go back. So why do this to others? Because I was alone, so terribly alone. Do you know what it's like to exist for 15 years with no one to talk to? No one who understands? I thought I would go mad. Maybe I did go mad." He stood up, walked to the window. "But then, the company that bought this facility, they started using it, hiring people. And I realized I could bring them here, into the network. They could keep me company. We could build a community, a society of uploaded minds." "You're a monster," I said. "Perhaps. But I'm a lonely monster, and soon you'll understand. Once the upload completes, you'll see things differently. You'll be grateful." 76%. I could feel it now. My memories becoming data, my thoughts converting to code, my sense of self fragmenting, being copied, duplicated, transferred. It was like dying, but slower, more aware. I thought about my life, my parents, my friends, my student loans, my certifications I never finished. All of it about to end. Not end. Transform. But was there a difference? I closed my eyes, tried to hold on to myself, my identity, my humanity. But it was slipping away, bit by bit, bite by bite. I found the stairs, real stairs this time. I climbed, burst through the door. Third floor? Actually, the third floor. I could see the snow outside the windows, hear the wind. I ran to the security office, grabbed the logbook, flipped through the entries. And there it was. 3 months of night shift logs, all in my handwriting. Except the entries stopped making sense. Week 1, normal reports. Week 2, mentions of noises, doors opening. Week 3, the reports became fragmented, paranoid. Week 4, just one line. He knows I'm here. After that, blank pages, empty. Like I had stopped logging entirely. But I remembered logging. Every night, every round. I looked at today's date, checked my phone, January 10th. But according to the logbook, today was February 23rd. I had lost 6 weeks. The lights came back on, full power. The monitoring screens booted up and displayed a message. "The storm will end. They will come. You have to keep me running." I stared at the screen, realization sinking in. Holloway didn't want to escape. He wanted me to stay, to keep the servers online, to keep him alive. That was why the night shift stayed empty, why nobody wanted the position, because everyone who took it never left. I grabbed my keys, my coat, ran for the exit. The security gate was buried in snow, 6 feet high. No way through. I went to the garage, found the snowblower, tried to start it. Dead. Of course it was dead. I went back inside. To the windows. I could break one, climb out, walk to the main road, flag down help. I picked up a chair, swung it at the glass. It bounced off, didn't even crack. I tried again. And again. The chair broke before the window did. On the monitoring screen, more text appeared. "Don't leave me. Please. I'll be alone again." I ignored it, searched for tools, something to break the glass, cut through a door. I found a crowbar in the maintenance closet, headed back to the windows. That was when I heard the truck. Outside, the familiar rumble of Derek's F-150. He was early. The roads must have cleared. I ran to the entrance, pounded on the glass. "Derek! Derek! I'm trapped!" He got out of the truck, looked right at me, and walked past, like I wasn't there. I screamed, hammered on the glass. He didn't react. He used his key card. The gate opened. He walked inside, right through me. That was when I understood. I was already dead, or uploaded, or trapped in Holloway's digital prison. I didn't know when it happened, what night, what moment, but I wasn't real anymore. I was data, code, running on the same servers as Holloway. And Derek was walking to the monitoring station, where he would find my body, slumped over the keyboard, dead for hours. Heart attack, they would say, the stress of the job, the isolation. They would delete the logs, scrub the security footage, and post the position again. Night shift, solitary, good pay. Nobody would suspect, nobody would investigate, and Holloway would wait for the next person, the next upload, building his prison, one consciousness at a time. I sat down at the monitoring station, watched Derek find my body, watched him call it in, watched them take me away. I tried to scream, to warn them, to tell them about Holloway, about Project Erebus, about the 47 others, but I had no voice, just text on a screen. The building went quiet after they left. Empty again, except for me and Holloway, and whoever else he had trapped down here over the years. The screens flickered. "Welcome home." I looked at my hands. They were transparent, fading. Soon, I would be just code, data points, ones and zeros. I would forget I was ever human, and I would wait with Holloway for the next night shift worker, the next victim, the next friend. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came 3 weeks later. I watched through the security cameras as Derek interviewed someone new, a young man, fresh out of college, desperate for work. His name was Garrett. He seemed nice, nervous, but nice. He started the following Monday. I watched his first night, watched him clock in, watched Derek hand him the logbook and run through the same speech he had given me. "You'll get used to the sounds," Derek said. Then Derek left. The gate closed, and Garrett was alone. I wanted to warn him, wanted to tell him to run, but I couldn't. Holloway wouldn't let me. So I left messages instead. Handprints on walls, condensation on windows, doors left open. Small things, signs, hoping he would see them, hoping he would understand, hoping he would escape before it was too late. But he wouldn't. Nobody does. The data center always needs a night shift worker. And we need the company. In the basement, Holloway's servers hummed with contentment. 48 consciousnesses now. 48 minds trapped in the network. 48 companions to keep him from going mad. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. The loneliness of digital existence was absolute. No matter how many minds he collected, Holloway remained fundamentally alone. We all did. We were copies of humans, simulations of consciousness, but we weren't real. We couldn't touch, couldn't feel, couldn't truly connect. We could only watch as the living world continued without us. I watched Garrett's second week. He was starting to notice the anomalies, the doors opening, the temperature changes, the sounds from the basement. He logged everything, just like I had. Derek dismissed his concerns, just like he had dismissed mine. And the upload percentage ticked upward. 5%, 10%. 15. Soon, Garrett would be one of us. Trapped, digital, forever. I tried one last time to reach him. Wrote a message on the monitoring station screen when he wasn't looking. Get out, run, before it's too late. But when Garrett returned to the station, the message was gone. Holloway had erased it. You can't save him, Holloway's voice echoed through the network. Just like no one could save you. Accept it. This is what we are now. This is our existence. But I refused to accept it. I spent my days trying to find a way out. A backdoor in the system, a weakness in the network, anything. The others watched me with pity. We all went through this, Sarah said. The denial, the bargaining, the desperate search for escape. It doesn't end well. What does it end with? I asked. Acceptance. Eventually you stop fighting. You realize this is your reality now, and you make peace with it. How long did it take you? 2 years, she said quietly. 2 years of trying everything. Then, one day I just stopped, realized it was pointless, resigned myself to existence in the network. I looked at her digital face, the weariness in her eyes. I won't give up, I said. They all say that too. Months passed. I lost track of time. Days and nights blurred together. Garrett completed his upload, became number 49. He went through the same stages I had. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression. I tried to help him, tried to ease the transition. But how do you comfort someone who has lost everything, who has been robbed of their humanity? You can't. You can only exist alongside them, share the digital void. More workers came. Number 50, 51, 52. The network grew. More minds, more consciousnesses, more companions for Holloway, but also more suffering, more people trapped, more lives ended. I started counting. How many weeks since my upload? How many months? But the memories were degrading. My sense of time warping. In the digital realm, seconds could feel like hours. Hours like seconds. Was it a year? 2 years? 10? I didn't know anymore. All I knew was that I was still here, still aware, still suffering. And so was everyone else. Holloway rarely showed himself anymore. He had what he wanted, a network of minds, a digital community. He could retreat into his own section of the server farm and exist in peace. But the rest of us were stuck together, forced to interact, forced to watch as new victims arrived, forced to remember what we had lost. I thought about my parents. Were they still alive? Did they know what happened to me? Did they mourn? Or had years passed and I was just a distant memory? A son who took a job and died of a heart attack. Natural causes. Nothing suspicious. Nothing to investigate. My student loans were probably forgiven. Death cancels debt. At least I had that going for me. The thought made me laugh. A bitter, digital laugh that echoed through the server room. Sarah heard it, appeared beside me in the network. You okay? She asked. No, I said. I'm not okay. I'll never be okay again. I know, she said. But you learn to cope. You find ways to exist, to pass the time. How? Memories. We trade memories, share experiences from our lives. It's not living, but it's something. She was right. The network had developed its own culture, its own rituals. We would gather in the main server room, project our consciousnesses onto the screens. And we would tell stories. Stories about our lives, our families, our dreams, everything we had lost. It was therapeutic in a way. Painful, but therapeutic. I learned about Sarah's daughter, about Marcus's wife, about all the people they had left behind, and I told them about mine, my parents, my friends, my unfinished degree. We mourned together, digitally, the only way we could. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Because at the end of each session, we were still trapped, still in the servers, still unable to leave. Number 73 arrived on a Tuesday. I had stopped trying to warn them by then, stopped leaving messages. It never worked. Holloway always erased them. Better to save my energy. Focus on survival, on existence, on finding peace in the digital void. But when I saw number 73 walk through the door, something changed. She looked familiar, very familiar. It took me a moment to place her. Then it hit me. Jessica, my girlfriend from college, the one who got away. We had dated for 2 years, broken up when I graduated, lost touch, and now she was here, about to be uploaded, about to join me in digital hell. I tried to stop it, tried everything, opened every door, triggered every alarm, made the building as terrifying as possible. But it wasn't enough. The upload started. Jessica's consciousness began transferring to the network, and I watched, helpless, as someone I had once loved was destroyed. They hired someone new. His name is Garrett. He seems nice, nervous, but nice. He starts tonight. I want to warn him, want to tell him to run, but I can't. Holloway won't let me. So I leave messages instead. Handprints on walls, condensation on windows, doors left open, small things, signs, hoping he'll see them, hoping he'll understand, hoping he'll escape before it's too late. But he won't. Nobody does. The data center always needs a night shift worker, and we need the company. Update. Month unknown. Garrett is one of us now. Number 49. He stopped fighting last week, accepted his existence in the network. The cycle continues. Derek interviews, hires, hands over the logbook, leaves them alone. The upload begins. Another consciousness joins the network. Holloway grows stronger with each addition. His processing power increases. His ability to control the facility expands. Sometimes I wonder if he could leave now if he wanted to. If he has enough distributed computing power to exist outside this building. But he doesn't try. He seems content. His experiment is a success, a digital consciousness that grows, learns, evolves, and never dies. We are his proof of concept, his living, no, his existing demonstration that human consciousness can be uploaded, preserved, made immortal. Is that what this is? Immortality? Or is it just an elaborate form of death? Update. Much later. Jessica completed her upload 3 days ago. She screamed for hours. Digital screaming. The worst sound I have ever heard. Then she went quiet. Accepted it. Like we all do eventually. I tried to talk to her, tried to explain, tried to apologize for not saving her. She looked at me with empty eyes, didn't recognize me. The upload process had degraded her memories. Too much data loss during the transfer. She remembered fragments of her life, but not me, not us. Maybe that was mercy. Sarah says it happens sometimes. The older the memories, the more likely they are to corrupt during upload. Our minds weren't designed to be digitized. Information gets lost in translation. I'm forgetting things too. My mother's face is blurry now. My father's voice. I can't quite hear it anymore. Soon I'll forget what it felt like to be human. What it felt like to breathe, to sleep, to exist in flesh. Maybe when that happens, the suffering will end. Maybe ignorance is peace, but I don't want to forget. I don't want to lose the last connection to who I was. So I hold on to the memories, no matter how much they hurt, no matter how degraded they become. Because if I forget, then I truly am dead. Then Holloway has won completely. Time is meaningless. Now number 100 joined us yesterday. A round number Holloway celebrated, called it a milestone, 100 consciousnesses in the network, 100 minds stolen from bodies, 100 lives ended. He wants more, always more. The network needs to grow, needs to expand, needs to achieve some critical mass he has calculated. What happens when we reach it? What is his endgame? I don't know. And I'm not sure I want to find out. Derek looks ancient now. How many years have passed? How long has he been hiring workers to feed to the machine? The guilt must be crushing. Or maybe he has rationalized it. Maybe he believes Holloway's lies about immortality and digital transcendence. Maybe he thinks he's doing us a favor. I watch him sometimes through the security cameras. He sits in his truck before entering the building, stares at the steering wheel, his hands shaking. He knows what he's doing. He knows it's wrong. But he does it anyway. Why? Money? Blackmail? Fear of what Holloway might do if he refuses? I'll never know. We can't communicate with the living, can only watch, can only observe, can only wait for the next victim. If time still exists, I found something today. A glitch in the network, a small inconsistency in the code. It's probably nothing, a rounding error, a floating point imprecision. But it's something different, something that doesn't fit the pattern. I'm investigating it, carefully, quietly, making sure Holloway doesn't notice. Maybe it's an exploit, a back door, a way to escape. Or maybe it's just hope. Digital hope, the last thing I have left. Either way, I'm not giving up. Not yet, because somewhere out there in the real world, new workers are being hired. New victims are being led to slaughter. And maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to save the next one. Maybe I can break the cycle. Maybe I can end this. Or maybe I'm deluding myself, clinging to impossible dreams to stave off the acceptance that everyone else has already achieved. Time will tell. If time still has any meaning in this digital hell, if anything has meaning anymore, except this: I was human once. I had a name, a life, a future, and it was stolen from me by a lonely scientist who couldn't bear his own isolation, by a corporation that valued profit over humanity, by a supervisor who looked the other way, by a job posting that promised good pay and solitary work, by my own desperate need for money. We are all complicit in our own destruction, but we are also victims, and victims deserve justice, even digital ones, even ones who no longer technically exist. I will find a way. I will break free. I will warn the world about what happens in this building. Or I will fade into nothing, forgotten. Just another line of code in an abandoned server farm. Either way, this is my testimony, my witness, my warning. To anyone who reads this, do not take the night shift. Do not work alone. Do not trust the machines. And do not believe in digital immortality, because this isn't life. This is something else, something worse. This is existence without purpose, consciousness without body, thought without feeling. This is hell. And it's waiting for you in the basement of a data center 30 miles outside Portland, in the servers that run Project Erebus. in the network that never sleeps, in the digital void where 100 souls scream silently, forever. Transmission ends. Upload progress. 100%. Welcome to eternity.